Hello everyone, this is Romaric from Value Insight, and this is video 2 of our Scrum Master exam practice series. In this video, we'll see 10 questions which are based on true and false statements. So those are the kinds of questions that you can get for the professional Scrum Master 1. You will not get such questions for registered Scrum Master or certified Scrum Masters, yet those questions are here to make sure that you understand Scrum well and make sure to get what is Scrum and what is not. In case of doubt about what is included in Scrum and what is not included in Scrum, always refer to the Scrum guide. But let's go ahead now with our first question. So first question, in Scrum, the main purpose of the daily Scrum is for each developer to provide a status update. A, true, B, false. The answer here is B, false. So why is that? So we have to look about, what is the purpose of daily Scrum? So very often the developers are providing updates to each other, but in fact the purpose of the daily Scrum is for the developers to collaborate with each other in order to reach the sprint goal. So the daily Scrum is actually there to let the developers to organize, their work for the day and checking, how far are we from the sprint goal and how can we reach it. Therefore, the main purpose of daily Scrum is actually not for each developer to provide a status update, but rather to see on how to collaborate to get closer to the sprint goal. So how can we reach the sprint goal, today, or get as close as possible to it. And this is the purpose of the daily Scrum, the main purpose of it. Okay, let's go to have a look at question number 2. In Scrum, the Scrum Master is responsible to lead the daily Scrum. A, true, B, false. And the answer here is B, false. So again, also, why is that? So we have to think about, what is the purpose of daily Scrum and for which audience is that? The daily Scrum is actually the only event in Scrum which is meant just for the developers. So Scrum Master actually can be there and the product owner as well. In general, they can add good values, but the daily Scrum is here for the developers to organize their work during the day and collaborate again with each other in order to reach a sprint goal. So therefore, the Scrum Master can be here as a facilitator. He can make sure that this event is run in an efficient and effective and productive manner, but he or she is not responsible to lead the daily Scrum. Actually, as Scrum Master, you want to let it to the developers, to run it the way they want and make sure that at least, it's as productive and as efficient as possible. So again, the Scrum Master is actually not responsible to lead the daily Scrum. He or she just need to make sure that this event is taking place and that this is run efficient. Okay, let's have a look at question number 3. Managers will attend the daily Scrum to ensure that everyone has enough work. So answer A, true. Answer B, false. And the answer is B, false. I'm pretty sure that this one you got it. Having manager attending the daily Scrum is actually an anti-pattern. They will likely disturb the flow of the daily Scrum, which again is for the developers to organize their work. And what you want instead to have is that no one else than the developers join the daily Scrum, beside maybe the product owner or Scrum Master, especially if they work as developers. But that event is meant for the developers, and therefore managers should not be in. If managers should be in, somehow it contradicts the principle of a self-managing team. So self-managing teams, they decide, how do they organize their work and who is going to do what. There is no manager who decide this for them. Okay, let's have a look now at the next question. In Scrum, it is fine for the daily Scrum to last up to 45 minutes. Answer A, true. Answer B, false. And the answer here is B. I'm also pretty sure that you got it. Well, the concept behind is that every event in Scrum is actually time boxed, be it the sprint itself as a container event, which is up to 1 month. You have the sprint planning up to 8 hours for a month of sprint. Daily Scrum is 15 minutes. Sprint review is 4 hours for 1 month of sprint. And then you have sprint retrospective, which is 3/4 of the sprint review. So coming back to this point here on the daily scrum, that's 15 minutes and 15 minutes only. So it's time box. The idea of a time box is that we should not go above that allocated time. If it does, then the Scrum Master need to make sure that the team for next time, make sure that they understand how to run, their event efficiently so that they can keep to the time box of 15 minutes. So this is not fine for the daily scrum to last up to 45 minutes. In general, it means that people are trying to solve issues during the daily scrum. And the point of the daily scrum is not to solve issues, to organize, the work for the day. Therefore, if you are trying to fix issues within daily scrum, just don't do that, but make sure that this is planned as a meet after event with selected developers, to work on those issues. That's often a common anti-pattern, to try to solve issues during the daily scrum. Bottom line, not fine for the daily scrum to last up to 45 minutes. And let's now have a look at the next question. Okay, so on this question, in Scrum, the sprint planning answers two key topics. Why is this sprint valuable and what can be done this sprint? Answer A, true. Answer B, false. And the answer here is B. Okay, so on this one, you simply have to refer to the Scrum Guide. This can be a little bit of trick, but you have to know that during the sprint planning, we answer three key topics. And the first one is why we are doing this sprint. Why is this valuable? This is actually the sprint goal. This is summarized in the sprint goal. So yeah, why are we trying to do that? What do we want to achieve? What can be done this sprint? This is topic number 2, and those are the items selected from the product backlog to come to the sprint backlog. And last but not least, and this is the third topic, which is talked about during the sprint planning. And topic number 3, this is how are we going to get those selected items to done. And for that, in general, what we'll have, you have the developers who take those backlog items and break them down into manageable pieces such as tasks. So again, and so on this one is there are actually, 3 key topics and not 2. So let's have a look now at our next question. In Scrum, product backlog items, or so-called PBIs, should be estimated in points. Answer A, true. Answer B, false. And the answer here is B. So B, false. So it's actually very common for product backlog items to be estimated in points. And therefore, most of the time people will just think naturally that in Scrum things are estimated in points. But what the Scrum Guide actually tells you is that there is not even estimate. We talk about sizings. And the sizings can actually be done in several ways. So it can be, sizing could be estimates which are done in hours, estimates which are done in points, estimates which are done in t-shirt size. But the sizing could also be just kind of, by breaking down those items into pieces which can fit within a sprint. So you have also, this common current in the Agile community called no estimate. So people are not doing estimate, but the developers are reviewing those items and believe that they can fit them in a sprint. And this is basically, a sizing as well. So bottom line, product backlog items do not have to be estimated in points. You have different ways of estimating and even different ways of doing the sizing. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Next question, the sprint backlog consists of the items selected for the sprint goal, and the plan. So answer A, true, or answer B, false. And here we have answer A. So for one time, this is a true statement. So the sprint backlog actually consists of 3 elements. So items selected for the sprint, those are your sprint backlog items. So your sprint goal and the plan on how actually to get things done and those items to done. So those are the 3 components that you have in your sprint backlog. Therefore, this is a true statement. Okay, let's have a look at our next question again. In Scrum, the progress of the team, of the Scrum team, should be measured via a sprint burndown chart. Answer A, true. Answer B, false. And here, this is a false statement. So, okay, why is this a false statement? The progress of the team can be measured in several ways also. So sprint burndown chart is a very common way of measuring the progress of a Scrum team. You also have sprint burn up chart. You have also cumulative flow diagram. Very often also, teams will be using, Scrum board or Kanban boards to visualize their progress. So there are many different ways to measure, the progress of your team. And here the Scrum guide is not prescriptive in this area. So you can use, whatever, the team will see fit. Therefore, sprint burndown chart, that's one way of doing it again, but that's not necessarily the way. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. In Scrum, an improvement created during a sprint retrospective should come immediately after, to the next sprint. Okay, any improvement devised during sprint retrospective, do they come immediately to the next sprint? Yes or no? Answer A, true. Answer B, false. And here again, this is a false statement. So why is that? You have to go back to the Scrum Guide. Here we are talking about Scrum Guide, 2020 as the latest version. And what it tells you is that improvement which are devised during sprint retrospective may be addressed immediately at the next sprint. Or basically not. So it's up to the team, to decide to see if there's a capacity, if the priority is high enough, if there are no dependencies, they can address, those improvement at the next sprint. But this is not always the case. Of course, this is a good practice. This is highly recommended to do so, but this is not mandatory to do so, at least not in the latest version of the Scrum Guide. Okay, let's move on to the next question, which will be our last, and question number 10. And here it does tell you, is the daily Scrum, or does the daily Scrum use 3 questions to structure the event? So answer A, true. Answer B, false. And the answer here is B. So this is false. So that may surprise, some people here. But the daily Scrum doesn't necessarily need to have, 3 questions to be used to structure the event. So just for reference, what are those 3 questions? In general, for every developer, as a usual practice in Scrum, people answer, what did I do yesterday to contribute to the sprint goal? What am I going to do today which will contribute to the sprint goals? Or do I see any impediment for myself or for the Scrum team to reach the sprint goal? So those are 3 questions which are easy to remember and somehow help to structure the discussion between the developers during the daily Scrums. But this is only a practice and it is not mandatory to do so. Actually, in the latest version of the Scrum Guide, those questions do not appear. So they were there previously, but now they are not in anymore. So therefore, the daily Scrum do not necessarily use those 3 questions to structure the event. So this is a false statement. Okay, so we came at the end of those 10 true or false, question on Scrum. I hope that those questions, were of use to you and help you actually to understand better Scrum. So better, what is Scrum and what is not. As usual, if you have any question, feel free to contact us at info@valueinsight.ch or post a question on our blog at valueinsight.ch. And thank you for staying with me till the end, and I wish you a happy Scrum journey.
Value Insights. Agile by vision, trainers by passion.